All right, guys. I love it. Having a lot of fun here. All right. So, guys, listen. We're having a lot of fun. What's not fun? It's going up against Inter Miami. We also have to go down to South Florida. But what I'm happy and excited for is our guests to get us ready for this upcoming matchup against Inter Miami. Please welcome dear friend of the show from the Herion Nest. Please welcome Alex Windley. Alex, what's going
Hey
on?
guys, I'm excited to be back on.
We're excited to have you
Nice to
on.
have you.
How are things down there, Alex, down in South Florida?
Really rainy, and we're in
Really?
September, so yeah, it's killing us down here, but I'm hanging in there.
That is never ever fun there.
Yeah.
Oh man. But do we have clear weather for Saturday night?
That's a good question. I'm gonna just say no, but it'll
Okay.
probably clear up eventually. But we
nice,
could see some rain actually. Yeah.
nice little slop fest. Hopefully it's not like the
Florida,
Christmas Cup.
and it
Right.
rains randomly in Florida all the time, and then we'll be sunny, and then we'll be raining again. So
Right.
who knows?
Honestly, starting to sound like Philadelphia these days. I don't know.
Oh.
All right, Alex. Well, let's dive into it. Obviously, listen, a lot of press with your club. No secrets about that. Then we got to start it off. Obviously, I witnessed it. Messi's injury at the Copa America final. What's our update here? What's the timetable here for Lionel Messi? I'm not expecting him here this Saturday, but what's the expectation for Miami?
Yeah, so he could be back actually. He's back
Really?
in training. Yeah, he's back in training. He's been running. He's been in full team training. Gaston Ido, the Argentine journalist, said he'll probably play within the next 2 games, and I'm leaning towards the Philadelphia match because it's on a more natural grass situation compared to Miami are heading up to Atlanta next Wednesday, so it would probably be better for Messi to play on a grass surface. So yeah, per him, I think he'll probably get some minutes this Saturday. And yeah, he's closer to a return than he was I'd say like 2 weeks ago. So
Wow. Okay. Well, there you have it. We should hopefully see Messi playing this weekend. This group as a whole, though, hasn't missed a beat at all. And I know we had talked about it before, but when you look at the success of Inter Miami, clearly running away with, forget the East, but top across the league. You look at how they've won games with 18 wins, but most importantly, it's not Messi. It's not the same guys. I know we talked before about the depth of this team, but for Inter Miami in this final stretch of the regular season heading into playoffs, how are you feeling about how they've been progressing? I mean, it's one thing to be successful in the regular season. It's another thing once you get to playoff time. And now, obviously, that's where you really are putting the focus in to make sure you're the last one standing. Is this group built for the distance, or is this a situation where they're primed, in your opinion, to kind of have an upset down the stretch come playoff time? Putting on your predictions here.
yeah, I honestly, this team has improved over the course of the year, even without Messi, like you said, Renee. And I think Tata Martino has needs a lot of credit for that because he's been able to, him and Chris Henderson, they've been able to pick players that got Miami to this point over the summer when Messi was out and Suarez was out for Copa America, and then Messi's injury. They have guys like Matias Rojas, Federico Redondo, Diego Gomez, who's off to Brighton in the winter. They have a lot of guys that are just really good at scoring and facilitating, and even without Messi. So once Messi gets back, I think this team is going to take it up to another level, which is it's pretty scary for the rest of MLS, honestly, even I'm watching as a reporter. The biggest question is, will their defense be able to hold up to their attacking prowess? I don't, honestly, it's hit or miss. Honestly, it depends on the day for Miami because there are some days where, they'll get a clean sheet and maybe just concede only one goal. But then there are other games where, I believe they played Toronto FC a couple of weeks ago and the game ended 4-3 and a player got sent off on Miami's side. And they still managed to win playing good attacking soccer. But, defensively, you can't have your center back getting sent off that early and conceding that many goals. So that is a worry heading into the playoffs, especially with teams like the Crew, FC Cincinnati, and then you look over to the West, LAFC and the Galaxy. They can punish you offensively as well. So I think that's probably the biggest question for Miami heading forward. But I think with Messi coming back eventually and playing a few minutes this weekend, the team will get their morale up a little bit. And if they do start leaking goals, they have the attack to be able to just outscore anyone. So I think that's kind of what they're banking on and praying for the best with their defense.
Absolutely. That's going to be the name of the game for them. But, it's funny you bring up Tata Martino because, it's funny, our last matchup, I think it really exemplified like the tutelage and how big of an impact Tata's had on that squad. I mean, you look at that June 15th match, I mean, in Chester, right? Like typically, I mean, obviously this year wasn't much of a fortress, but, it's always been a fortress for the Union, right? And then we had that early goal by Ua. And then Miami in that second half, the 47th minute goal, and then the injury time goal as well to seal the deal by Robert Taylor. But I think like in the past, even with Neville, that comeback would have never happened. And the trust and obviously the tactics that Martino puts in, I think that match obviously like that for us is what we saw. But I think that match kind of exemplified how big Tata Martino's been for Miami.
Right. I'd agree with you. I think that was that one game. I think it was the first game away from Miami during the international goings on during the summer. Messi was gone. Suarez was gone. I think I don't even think Matias Rojas was gone. Diego Gomez was still there. I was recalling him going to the Olympics. But yeah, I think that game kind of, for us reporters, I think it kind of solidified, okay, this team, they can do something here if they're able to win without Messi, and they continue to win and during the summer, and they played competent soccer, which, last season, even with Messi on the field, it was really like Messi dependence on him every single touch, and the team couldn't play without him regardless. But this season we've seen Tata, bring out guys like Diego Gomez, like I mentioned, Matias Rojas, these attacking players who can score. And of course, I'd be crazy not to mention Luis Suarez, who's been phenomenal up top for Miami. And, let's see if the club is able to renew him. But, I think it's guys like that picking up the slack when Messi is gone. I think that was the key moment for the team heading forward. And during the summer, they were able to show that even without Suarez, but now with Messi gone for that 3-month period, the team was just able to fight through. And last season, even under Neville, they, like you said, they would have never been able to come back like that, like they did against the Union. And I think that was when belief really started to hit the fandom and the fan base that, okay, even when we're down, 10 men or not with our stars, the team can still play decent football and get results, which is the most important thing, especially heading in the playoffs where, you're playing home and away and you got to grind out results. So let's see if they can continue that even with Messi and continue that tactical flexibility. And let's see if they're able to, get over that hump that, plagues Supporter Shield. I don't know if you guys heard, the Supporter Shield winners, usually when they win that, they don't go on to win MLS Cup. So I think that's what Miami's trying to avoid. So let's see if they're able to do that. Yeah.
We know well.
It is interesting because I do feel like there's always these bad luck, like playoff juju that just gets put out there about regular seasons, winning the Supporter Shield, winning, first round bye for baseball, like whatever it is, there's always something that people point to as an excuse or a reason why they are nervous about the playoffs. But to your point, with that match back June 15th, 2 red cards that we saw in that game for Miami. They down a goal, as you mentioned, behind Ua's goal. They come back to win. Leo Alfonso's the game winner there in stoppage time. To me, that felt like such a, as you mentioned, such a big moment for Miami, but also such a huge letdown for the Union, who at that time were in the middle of their awful stretch. They had 10 winless, but since July 6th, the Union have at least defensively been getting back, allowing just 0.5 goals per game. They are 9th in expected goals allowed in that stretch as well. The defense is getting back. The offense is coming around with Ty Baribo's 7 regular season goals in just over 800 minutes. He's been fantastic for the Union offensively. So I'm excited because it's a matchup for both these teams that a lot has changed, obviously, since June 15th. You have players back from the break. You have guys getting back from injury, and it should be very interesting to see how it plays out. But as you mentioned also with that, it's also the pressure of there's just 7 regular season games left and decision day is looming, and everybody knows the importance of every single match. And this is another chance for Miami to continue to hold on to that lead as top offensive units across the league, but top team in the league. And for the Union, they're coming in as a very hungry underdog team, sitting at number 10, trying to crack in to the playoffs. What can we expect in terms of tactically that's you've noticed change and evolved? I mean, again, a lot's changed since June 15th. What has Miami been kind of rolling out as their attacking methods that have helped them win those shootout games, help them score goals, and help them be the top offensive team across the league?
Yeah, I think the biggest switch that I've seen is them reverting to a back five, which, I know for the football purists, playing with a flat back 4-3-3, that's, footballing heritage, and you don't want to stray from that. But under Tata Martino, Miami, they reverted back to this back five, which I think with the makeup of this roster with the older players and Busquets, Suarez, Messi, even Jordi Alba, even though he looks, young when he's playing on the field, he's 35 now, I believe. So he's not getting any younger, but, reverting to that back five, it's given Miami more defensive security with Tata moving Busquets as a defender, which sounds crazy, but, he's been doing well back there. He's been running and stretching his legs a bit, and he has really impeccable timing with his tackles. So it's not that he's bullying people off the ball. It's more so him being smart and positionally aware. So Miami's reverted to this back three with Busquets in the middle, David Martinez on the left, and Toto Avilas on the right, and they have flying wingbacks in Chelo Vegant and Jordi Alba. So it's basically more defensively compact, midfield wise. It's all young guys, and Yannick Bright, he's been a revelation. The draft pick out of, I forgot his college, but he's Italian. But the draft pick that they've got. Federico Redondo, Diego Gomez, even Julian Gressel playing in that midfield three. They provide the legs that maybe Busquets doesn't have. And then up top, you have either Matias Rojas or Diego Gomez playing as an attacking outlet alongside Luis Suarez. And this 5-3-2 that they have, it gives them defensive stability, all while keeping them compact through the middle against teams that like Cincinnati or Columbus that like to play with width. It gives them that line of five that they can defend that way, and then going forward, it gives them wingbacks that provide the width, but also, guys like I said, Gomez, who are runners, and Suarez, who, is really an impeccable finisher. It gives them that combination of, tightness through the middle of the pitch, a solid defensive line of five, but also when they win the ball, they can turn it over quickly, move forward quickly, launch long balls instead of having that possession-based style that you may associate with Tata Martino and the Barcelona boys. It's much more counterattacking, long ball, playing the angles directly through the wings and trying to get a midfielder or an attacker on that. So I think that's the biggest difference. I think when Messi does return, I do think they'll probably revert back to a 4-3-3. But heading into the playoffs and you're playing teams like the Crew and FC Cincinnati that play with a back five, I think that's probably what they're going to stick with even when Messi does return. I think it'll be a little bit more flexible with him, whether it be a 3-4-3 or a 3-5-2 or whatever. But I do think that back five is probably the biggest tactical switch that Tata made over the season, rather than sticking with the 4-3-3 when his biggest facilitator in that formation, Messi, he's been out for a large portion of the season, so it didn't make sense to stick that way. So I see why he just switched to that back five.
That's big because, one thing we always gripe upon here in Philly is that, we really don't have too much tactical flexibility. Like, we've seen different formations, but at the end of the day, Alex, too, seeing this club over the past couple of years, it'll always be that 4-4-2 diamond, that compact midfield with the two forwards. And listen, it's worked, but there are times where clubs do figure it out. They do find a way to come back that compact midfield. So I think tactical flexibility is big. Obviously, listen, you guys have a lot of, big dogs, right? Your Suarez, Busquets, Alba, the casual soccer fan knows who those players are. But, I'm curious, you guys have been really good this year. And we talk about Messi hasn't been there for a lot. Is there a player that no one's really talking about that's been big in your success this year?
Yeah, I'll say his name again, Yannick Bright. At the beginning of the season, he wasn't really starting. He was a draft pick. He's basically making up the numbers on the bench. But as the season went on and Busquets dropped into that back line, Bright has been such a key player in that midfield. It's I don't know if you guys remember Gregory a year ago.
Yeah.
We have this incredible defensive midfielder who would just any opposition attacker that's in there, he's crunching tackles, he's getting rid of the ball. Basically, Yannick Bright has replaced Gregory in that sense. So Yannick Bright is just a pure defensive midfielder. His positional sense is impeccable, and it's crazy because, the guy, he's 21, 22, which is, still old enough, but like, coming out straight out of college, you don't expect them to have this big of an impact. And it's gotten to the point where, I don't think Miami can play without him, honestly. They need that defensive presence in the midfield, especially when Busquets is getting older and he's not as physical as he maybe used to be back in his Barcelona days, and especially him moving back to the back line. Yannick Bright has been such a huge player in that regard, playing playing alongside like a guy like Redondo, who's more of a creative outlet, more of a deep line playmaker. Having Yannick Bright there as that defensive midfielder, sweeping up any opposition attack there, it's been huge for Miami, and honestly key as to why they were able to play so well even without Messi and Suarez throughout the summer. They had that defensive steal throughout the middle, so it allowed the guys who are more attacking inclined, i.e. like a Diego Gomez or Julian Gressel, Jordi Alba, who has 6 assists and 4 goals on the season as a fullback, which is insane. It allowed those guys to go and be great while Yannick kind of held down the fort with the back line as a defensive midfielder. So, he's a super draft pick, but my word, he's had such a huge impact on this Miami team.
It's interesting because both teams do play very similarly. A big focus on transition play and being able to get numbers forward and playing a bit more direct once they do win it. They definitely, for the Union, have been focusing on trying to build up their midfield to be able to play through the midfield a lot more, to add that attacking versatility of being able to combine and get forward, being able to switch the point of attack, and then also sometimes playing traditionally down, whether it's direct or even just through the flank services. So when you see players like Danley Jean-Jacques that they were able to acquire, as well as Leon Flock and Jesus Bueno, Ali Bedoya, Danny Gazda, they're adding some more fluidity into their attack that has allowed them to show a bit more unpredictability and dynamic in their formation, even if it's the traditional 4-3-3, 4-4-2, whichever they're rolling out that day. So it has been encouraging for the Union. I just feel like this is such a big test because coming off of a break prior to that, of course, the win over New York Red Bulls, which is always great to get a nice rivalry win. Things have been feeling good, even with them losing Jose Martinez and Damian Lowe to, roster moves, even with them having some question marks and hiccups. They've gotten Andre Blake back, who's been fantastic and showing why he was MLS goalkeeper of the year. But now you're running up against the top dogs in Miami, and I'm excited and nervous and so many different emotions because on paper they're expected to lose regardless, but depending on how this game goes, could have people really panicking or really encouraged on the other side of it. Miami, on the other hand, really has nothing. I mean, they do have something to lose because if you lose to the Union, people are going to be like up in arms about that as well.
Yeah.
But as you mentioned, if Messi is able to play this weekend, that in itself would be a huge boost for Inter Miami to be able to have Messi return back to add that spark with 7 games remaining in the regular season. So I'm excited for this matchup, guys, because I feel like there's just a lot at stake here for both teams. And that's what makes it like there's a lot to play for. There's a lot of like storylines to follow and 2 teams that also play very similarly. That's exciting.
Right. And if I can add on there, I think, like you said, Renee, I think as a reporter, I'm looking forward to this game because, historically, the Union and Inter Miami, they've had some clashes over the years, and it's always fun watching the 2 teams go at it. So, yeah, I'm intrigued to see, how Miami carries on about this, and let's see if they can continue that winning streak. And I know the Union are going to be ready to play, and it's going to be a really difficult game, and I think it's going to be a really physical game as well. So, yeah, let's see how it ends up. But I think as a reporter and neutral, I'm excited. I'm excited to see this game and let's see how it goes. It's gonna be an interesting one from Miami's perspective. They don't want to drop a game, but I think like you said, getting Messi back will be the biggest talking point. But also they don't want to. They want to keep up the pressure on Supporter Shield and winning that. So it'll a lot of stakes for Miami as well. And when Messi gets back on that field, it'll be a boost for them too.
Alex, I've known you for a while now, and like I want to ask you a question on a personal level. Like, has it hit you yet? Like this club that you're now covering, like you covered some bad Miami teams, and look at this now. Like they're competing for Supporter Shield. Like, how's it feel for you personally?
I was just like, that's such a shower thought. I was thinking about that the other day, like the days of, Diego Alonso and Phil Neville and the sanctions. And, oh, man, yeah, I was there for all of it. And to see the club now and they got the stadium deal done. They're moving back in late 2025. And, Yeah, it's honestly overwhelming as a
The
Miami native.
Gonzalo Higuain teams.
Yes. Oh my word. Those were the. I don't want to get like dragged, but those were the trenches, man. Like it was crazy.
It's funny, Alex, because I live in South Jersey, which is very close to Philadelphia, and like I see kids in my own neighborhood here with the pink Messi jersey. Like there's not even Union there.
yeah.
There's the pink Messi. Like Miami runs all through this country now.
Wow. Yeah. Honestly, maybe it's the I'm not like thinking about it, but like it's weird. Like I don't know. MLS is such like a like it's a national league, but most people watch Premier League or La Liga. But seeing Inter Miami jerseys, even with non-Messi names, like I saw like some child with the Robert Taylor jersey on, which is incredible. I love Robert Taylor; he's such a cool dude. But
That's
I
cool.
don't know. It just hasn't sunk in. You know, it's just wild. It's wild. Everything's wild.
It is, and even with all that, you get the announcement that we heard last week. I guess it would have been at this point. Luis Suarez talking about his announcement of retiring from international soccer. His international career ended with the World Cup qualifier against Paraguay, and he's done with Uruguay. He's no more going to play internationally. But on the club side, there still seems to be some murmurs that he's still going to keep going professionally a little bit more before hanging up the cleats. So even those types of moments to be a part of such a big name player, you know, you talk about one of the best attackers that we've seen in the game, that's you get to be a part of this major moment in his career. It's exciting. This is why we do what we do. But I'm also interested because I feel like Suarez with this announcement, I know it's very emotional. He was tearing up. Sometimes when players retire from the international game, there's that extra like last burst of fire in them on the club side because this is it. And they want to see if they can get that title, get that, you know, whatever those final honors and accolades are that they're seeking. So even that, I'm sure, has been a whirlwind for you to be after the retirement announcement and even following now of like what that's going to look like for Suarez and for this team moving forward.
Right. And I don't want to, I don't know if I should say this because it's mainly speculation, but during Suarez, they had a tribute video for friends and family, and Messi was one of the people in that video, and he alluded to Suarez continuing his career for many years to come. And I mentioned that I wrote about it on my Substack, that how Messi may have implied that Suarez is staying in Miami for maybe one or maybe 2 more years, which is absurd because he's a great scorer, but he's like almost 40, which, you know, at the end of the day, I guess, I know what Drogba, I don't know if you guys remember him playing in Montreal. He played until he was 40, so there's precedent for that. But yeah, I think Messi may have alluded to Suarez staying for an extra year next season. And this is not me reporting anything. That's why I was hesitant to say, but it's more so like speculation. And I wouldn't be shocked if they do extend his contract. He's been so good. But yeah, like you said, it's just a pleasure to watch these guys play as a reporter, and I'm just soaking it in and doing my best to cover the team and giving you know, the fans of the team and people who want to follow along the best coverage. So yeah, I'm just chilling and letting everything go, really.
You deserve it, Alex.
And real quick, Suarez, when he made his debut at 18 back in May of 2005, that was way back with Atletico Junior in the Copa Libertadores. Here we are almost 20 years later, and we're still talking about him having a couple more years possibly. Like, I know he said it as well, of like he wants to keep enjoying his professional football career a little bit more, not in a rush to end it. So I do feel like there is some speculation that he could potentially, even with his contract through 2024, this 2024 season, that he might be inking another deal to continue playing. So 40 is the new 30, though, guys. Let's
right. Very
I,
true.
I love it. I love it. All right.
Oh my gosh, you guys heard the thunder in my background? It's crazy down here.
There we go. Precursor for Saturday. We shall see.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of which, Alex, it's time to get that prediction from you. Where do you see happening this upcoming Saturday? Philadelphia Union, Inter Miami Club de Fútbol. What's going to happen here?
I'm really bad at predictions, but I think it'll be a competitive game. I think both teams will score. I think it'll be 3-2 in favor of Miami. I think they'll defensively collapse somewhere because they always do that, and then the Union will fight hard, and I think it'll be a competitive game. But I do think Miami will narrowly get the win 3-2, but it won't be easy.
Okay, Renee.
Honestly, I do feel like this should be a game that's similar to the first one, which was 2-1. Lots of cards, lots of fouls, lots of physical play. So with that intensity, will allow the Union to they thrive. I feel like with games like that. I also feel like a 2-1, 3-2 type of a score. I would love for the Union to muster out a win, though. So I'm going to optimistically go a 2-1 Union win.
Okay.
But I could see it going either way. This is a tough one.
I have the Union actually losing 2-1 again to Inter Miami. So yeah, I just don't have a good feeling going down to Fort Lauderdale to get the victory. So we shall see. But that's
also
gonna
haven't done well off of bye weeks for the Union, by the
No.
way. So that's also a factor.
They have not whatsoever. But that's gonna do it for this edition of PHLY Union Podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.